So it's a day after the iPhone XS Max release day, and already the Android haters are out in full force in order to try to basically demoralize the Apple buyers. And they've been talking all types of shit. I mean, they've been talking shit about, oh yeah, well, the XS Max's screen is not that great, and oh, you paid for the same product, and blah blah blah. It's amazing. You know what's so funny? If you go to just about any Android video review on YouTube, what you won't see is a barrage of comments that are hating on the phone. Like if you go and check out an LG Stylo 4 review, or if you go and check out one of those Razer phones, the gaming phones reviews, what you won't see is a bunch of Apple people wasting their time hating on those phones. And I find that so astounding that these losers are actually taking their time to hate on iPhone and hate on the buyers who were predestined to buy the next best, greatest iPhone. So the thing about it is, it's like, me personally, I'm having so much fun making these these hate speech videos against Android and against Samsung. Because you know what's funny? So I've noticed a couple of trends in my comments that I'm getting. So I've got some people saying, oh, all you ever talk about is Samsung. That's your only point of reference. Well, there's a reason that is my point of reference, is because Samsung sits at the absolute top of the Android market. I'm not going to front. Samsung makes the absolute best Android phones. But you'll always have some jerk-off who'll try to say, oh, the Google Pixel's better, or the Razer phone is better, or the LG Stylo 5 or whatever is better. So the problem is, and I said this already, in the Android market, those people are basically fighting each other for space. The Apple market is completely different, because the Apple market is off to the side with devices that they have basically no access to, because the operating system on our phones, iOS, cannot be duplicated on any other phone. Android phones all share Android. Now, some of the phone makers have little special additions to that Android, but for the most part, all of their phones are basically the same, minus the fact that some have better features than others. So they're fighting each other, and then when they see us get a new phone every single year on the year, now they want to come and attack us. So, whatever, who cares what they think? But anyway, some people were asking me to talk and to do a review of my iPhone XS Max and tell me, tell them whether or not I felt the XS Max is better than the X. Right here on the right is an X. Right here on the left is the XS Max, obviously, that I bought yesterday. This is the 512, this is the 256. Right now I'm video recording using an iPad 4th generation, so if the image is a little jittery, what I'll do is I'll put the post-processing on YouTube to try to stabilize the image. And I'll also try to keep the, what is it called? I'll try to keep the light down so this way it's easier to see, because it's hard for this thing to, what is it called? Focus on the image. So, the lighting situation, it's hard for the iPad to focus on the image when you have such huge dynamic range. So anyway, starting with the iPhone X. Well, in fact, I'll start with the iPhone X instead of the XS Max. Okay, so basically, let me just do my Face ID. So basically, I think I kind of talked about this. It wants a carrier update. I have to put not now because I took the SIM card out. So basically, somebody asked me, okay, well, what do you honestly think, right? Well, let me say it like this. The iPhone X was a great phone. And because of the size, it fits in my hand a specific way. Like, I was able to use it very, very comfortably because it wasn't so big. Originally, I used to have the Plus model iPhone, and I was originally like some people. It was like, oh my goodness, they made it smaller. They made the screen smaller. That's stupid. Why would they make the screen smaller than the Plus model? But let me tell you something. My hands never cramped using this phone like it did with the Plus model. And I have to say that the iPhone X, I had a very, very good time using the iPhone X. The thing that bothered me, however, which I kind of mentioned, was the fact that it did not have a home button and it didn't have the fingerprint sensor anymore. By not having the home button fingerprint sensor, basically what it was that it was like you had to rely on this the camera up here for the Face ID. And I felt that it was very inaccurate. It's like sometimes it would open right up, sometimes it would disallow me from opening it even when it's looking at my bare face. It would definitely never open up if my eyes were closed. But strangely enough, if you have sunglasses on, it can't see your eyes and it'll open up. So I found that to be very odd that it'll open when you have sunglasses on. But even that was never very accurate. Sometimes it would open, sometimes it wouldn't. What I really wish they had done was I wish that right here with the Apple logo, I wish that with the Apple logo that they had put a fingerprint sensor in the Apple logo itself. The sound quality and the video quality on this phone was fabulous. I loved this phone's video quality and I loved its sound quality. I had a great year using the iPhone X. So now what did Apple do? Apple basically, they changed it, made the XS Max so that they could stretch this screen out and make the XS Max. And then what they're doing is they're bringing out the XR, which I'll probably go back to Apple and I'll review the XR and I'll take a look at each one of the colors. Like, there's already a bunch of YouTubers who are unboxing these things one by one and they're looking at the colors. And mostly they're just looking at the colors because for the most part, the XR is basically just an X. But what I noticed that they did in some of the what they did was they took out the Force Touch. And some people don't really use Force Touch, but I found sometimes Force Touch to be good because if you push on something, let's say you hear a song, and you use Force Touch, it makes it easier for you to Shazam it, for instance. And I think a lot of people don't use Force Touch, and that's the reason why they decided to change it to what Android people call, quote-unquote, the long press. So basically, instead of having that dual exchange ion glass for Force Touch, they changed it so that basically, instead of being able to Force Touch it, they changed it so that, you know, you just push it longer, and that long press is going to get you the... it's going to get you in there. It's going to get you into whatever you want to look at. So they took out that and they made a couple of other changes to the XR. But for the most part, Apple does research. When they research what they're going to do with their next device, what they do is they take a look at the features that people have used and people have complained about. And if somebody's complained enough, they take it out. And if people actually are using the feature, they leave it in. So that's just what it is. Now, as far as the home button, when they took it out, I'm honestly disappointed with the home button. I'm far more disappointed that they took out the home button and the fingerprint sensor than I am that they took out the audio jack. The audio jack I could deal without because I use what is it called? Bluetooth headphones. So I could care less about the audio jack. But the home button fingerprint scanner, I really, really, really like. So the only way to keep some people are saying, oh, gee, is it worth it to go to an XS Max? Is it worth it to go to an XS Max instead of just sticking with my 8 Plus? And to answer that question, the only thing I can say is, listen, if you really like that home button, you really like that fingerprint sensor, then you've got no choice but to stay with the the 8 Plus or the 7 Plus. Now, for people who are still using 6s and 6S, if you have a 6S Plus, the 6S Plus was a pretty fast phone, but it's obviously nowhere near as fast as these new ones. My thing is, I think the lowest model that you should consider if you're going to upgrade is the 8 Plus, and the reason why is because not only do you get your fingerprint scanner, not only do you get your home button, but you also have that waterproofing resistance up to like 2 meters or something like that. I don't pay attention to all the numbers. What I do know is I've made videos under fucking water, like when I was in South Korea and I was at a water fountain. What you can do is get that water resistance, whatever you want to call it, and that'll make it so that you can not worry about it being in the rain if you're outside, but also so if it drops in the water, drops in the toilet, like if you have a kid who puts your shit in the toilet, you don't have to worry about the thing shorting out. So that was my X. I really did like my X, but obviously I had to upgrade to the XS Max. So some people ask me, oh, well, do you feel that the screen is worth it? Do you feel that the display is worth it? Oh, yeah. You see how big that fucking display is? Oh, yeah. When it sits in my hand, it sits in my hand like an 8 Plus, but I don't have to reach for the home button anymore. So this way, it kind of rests on my finger. It rests on my finger right there. And it's a beautiful, beautiful system. And it has all of the features and stuff that I love. Obviously, it still has the force press, and it has the haptic feedback for that. Now, the XR is being streamlined probably to make it less expensive to produce, but it's got the same features. The long press doesn't force down the screen. However, using haptic feedback, they made the long press feel exactly like the home button. And I was always amazed by the iPhone 7 Plus's home button, because I was amazed that they could make a flat button feel as if it was a real button. I was absolutely amazed by that. So that's basically what they did. Now, as far as video quality on this bastard, oh yeah, the video quality, the picture quality. I heard these Android people talking shit. They're like, oh yeah, well your screen's only 720p. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And then I heard somebody else say, oh yeah, well your screen's only 1080p. And I was like, wait, but the last guy said it was 720. It's like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? So when I'm watching my YouTube, like if I throw on some YouTube videos, I was watching this dude, and he was talking about, I was watching a dude's video, and he was talking about the fact that the iPhone XR is absolutely worth it, and that people are wrong.
Is wrong.
Yes.
About the iPhone.
Of course everyone's wrong, because it's a bunch of fucking Android fanboys talking shit because they're mad that nobody lines up for their bullshit. So anyway, this is what the video looks like before you zoom it to fit. But if you zoom it to fit that 4K minus this little notch, that's what the video looks like. Now, if I was going to watch this dude's video, and if I did it on here, you can clearly see how much bigger this thing is. I mean, this thing's fucking gigantic. I mean, so let's turn that around.
Misinformed reason. Now, if you've been
so
paying any
get
attention
so
to the
much
recent
more
coverage of the iPhone
video
XS,
screen.
iPhone XS Max, and of course the brand new
Oh,
iPhone
so he was
10R,
talking about that guy. As you can
videos
see, he was mentioning that guy too, who I mentioned, who was trying to say, oh yeah, well it's not worth it to upgrade and shit. But the thing about it is, listen, if you ain't got the money, then you ain't got the money. If you don't want to spend the money, then you ain't got to spend the money. So this is the zoomed view right here. Now, if I unzoom this view, you can see that the unzoomed view is obviously smaller than the whole screen of the X, but the zoom view is obviously, it's just bigger and better. However, the unzoomed view basically gives you exactly what you'd be getting out of the 7 Plus or the 8 Plus. Let me tell you something. As far as screen quality goes, as far as brightness goes, lowest brightness, highest brightness, like if you're in bed and you don't want to be bothered by very, very bright lights, as far as I can tell thus far from using it, I mean, I'm enjoying it. I mean, I honestly, my eyes to some extent really don't see much of a difference between what is it called, the liquid crystal display that they just released, this liquid retina, and the old retina. The thing about it is, at a certain point, your eyes really can't really tell the difference. What your eyes do see is the difference in presentation. Now, some of these, the Android phones, they like to use these live wallpapers and everything to make it appear that this screen is so much better, and they've got like water droplet fucking animation effects and shit. Apple never bothered with any of that. And because they never bothered with any of that, I mean, it's easy to convince somebody that, okay, yeah, well, my screen's 8K and your screen's 4K, and because you have a 4K screen, your screen's just not as good. Bottom line is, well, number one, how much battery life does that damn thing use? Because if your screen uses your battery right up, then there's no real good benefit in having a 4K screen. Because, I remember when the Evo 4G came out and everybody's talking about how great the screen was and everything. The thing about it, that shit was killing the batteries. And my thing is, it's like the human eye at a certain point does not really see the difference. And if the human eye can't see the difference, then what's the point? All I need the screen to do is give me good battery life, and I need the screen to I need it to give me good battery life, and I need it to be watchable, like, you know, if I'm on like a plane or something. So personally, it's like, you know, I would love to say that, okay, yeah, I see a huge difference between the liquid retina and the standard retina on the X. To tell you the truth, I really don't. What I do say is that it's still a perfect screen. It's a perfect screen. And I mean, that's basically just what it is. So here you go. My XS Max came out to close to $1,600. I'm sure the Android fanboys are angry because, oh yeah, well, you could have gotten the Galaxy 512 and that would have only been like $1,200 or $1,300. Thing about it is, I refuse to buy a phone without iOS. I love iOS. And the mere fact that even right now I'm recording this on my iPad and these devices talk to each other and are able to easily send each other files and stuff if they're in the same ecosystem, it's like there's no way in hell that I would... I just wouldn't go. If I went to Android, they'd have to have something so significantly amazing that it would make me go to them. Other than that, it's just not going to happen. So, you know, I'm loving these guys. I love reading their comments. Oh, you Apple sheep lining up for the same thing. Well, guess what? We have a faster processor. We have a faster camera with more effects on the camera. We have 512 gigabyte built-in NAND flash. Oh, but Android has that too. Yeah, but the thing about it is Android ain't got iOS. And it's just really that simple. I really think that iOS is the best possible mobile operating system for a phone. I will say that Android is probably definitely better for tablets and probably definitely better for those cheap-ass Chromebook laptops and stuff that you buy and then you can put Android on them so you can play games because it uses relatively little processing power. But when it comes to me having a phone that can shoot 10 or 12 hours of 4K video and then finalize the freaking video on the phone, when it comes to that ability, it's like I wouldn't give up iOS and iMovie for anything. And it's kind of funny that people would have to validate their purchases to somebody else just because there's 4 billion Asians over there talking shit about whether or not you can afford an iPhone or whether or not you go out and spend 16,000 of their funny money, their fucking monopoly money, 16,000 yuan, whatever you want. But they're up there talking all this smack, and we don't even go to their YouTube channels to talk shit about their crappy Android clones of iPhone. Because as you remember, when I was in the Philippines, they had a dozen clones of the iPhone X. And now everybody kept talking shit about the Retina display. Everybody kept talking smack about, oh yeah, well this notch is stupid. You can't use that because it's not usable. Thing about it is, why the fuck would the Android copycats start copying the notch? Look at that notch. Why the fuck are they copying the notch if the notch is so bad? It's because they want to be iPhone and they never will. They'll never have iOS. They'll never have the build quality of Apple iPhone. And they're angry because of that. So right now, we're going to take our phones, after this weekend, we're going to take our phones back to work. We're going to take our phones. Some of us are going to go back to school. Some of us go back to work. And somebody's going to be like, oh, did you get the new iPhone? And everybody's going to want to see it, especially if you got the XS Max. And all the Android people, they're going to, right there on the spot, they're going to get upset. They're going to get butthurt. And they're going to start fighting you. You just got to be prepared for it because that's just what it is. And they're hating on my videos. Eventually, I'm going to try to gather up all the best comments that they make, and I'm going to read them all. And I'm just going to make more and more videos just constantly talking smack about their comments because it's just so much fun. But let me tell you something. This XS Max, I think I might skip whatever comes next year because, to tell you the truth, the only thing I really want now that I have a 512 gigabyte iPhone, is a 1 terabyte iPhone. Now, if that comes out, if there's a 1 terabyte iPhone, what's possible is we may move up to 5K video, we may move up to 8K video. But if there's a 1 terabyte iPhone, you can bet that that thing is going to be like $2,000. So I guess I just better start saving up my money now. But one thing I can tell you is I won't be handing that money over to Samsung or to any other Android phone maker.